Welcome to I Love This Thing So Frigging Much, a podcast about passion. My name is Sophie Katz, and today I am joined by Ginger, who is a cosplayer, cosplay performer, and cosplay show creator. Welcome to the show, Ginger.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. So, here is how this works. Ginger will have 3 minutes to talk about something that she loves. This can be a person, place, thing, concept, activity, anything she wants. Our only requirement is that she loves it wholeheartedly and wants to tell us why. Are you ready, Ginger?
I am ready.
Good. All right, got my timer here. Now, what do you love so frigging much?
So the thing that I love so freaking much is cosplay and cosplay performance and show creation. So I pretty much started out as a theater kid who loved to perform, and eventually that led to me getting degrees in theater and creative writing, and I specialized in playwriting in both instances. So I've done a lot of live show writing for Ren fairs, theme parks. I've done some film writing, but you know, the things that inspire me more than anything are really just children's TV shows, cartoons particularly. So I've always been super drawn to characters that I really relate to, and usually that is, you know, in kid shows for me. I really started cosplaying like in middle school, and at the time I didn't really see it as like a main hobby because I would just go to one con a year. But what I super loved about cosplaying was the aspect of like going to a convention and getting to portray these characters that I super related to, and I really fell in love with that. And so a few years ago, on a whim, I auditioned for a convention show in my local area, MetroCon, and I got cast as a character that ended up being one of my favorite characters of all time, and that's Pearl from Steven Universe. So in the show that I was in, which is The Masquerade, I had the opportunity to not only perform on the stage, the scripted show, but go out and improv with the audience, which was like 1,000 people, as this character, and I had so many good interactions. Like, I ended up dancing with this shy Rose Quartz, who posted it on her story later saying that it made her whole night, and I interacted with this Amethyst who said that they weren't going to come but decided to at the last minute, and she interacted with me the entire night in character and like super came out of her shell, and I still talk about both of these interactions to this day with people. And that experience just kind of lit the fire in me to explore cosplay, not only just as a means of like a personal artistic outlet, but more seriously as a performer, a costume creator, and a playwright. So since then, I've been performing in several convention shows. Last year, I was Marceline from Adventure Time in MetroCon's Masquerade. This year, the cast list came out. I'm going to be Cortana from Halo in the chess match, and I'm going to be in a third-party show called Rhyme Nor Reason. I'm going to be playing Leo from Premiere. And so from these experiences, I really started putting together my own panel shows. The concept behind that is really creating something interactive in the confines of a short panel space at conventions that people can come and have that experience of a show in a small panel setting. So basically from this, I'm working through the process of eventually establishing a convention production company, devising larger shows in actual show spaces that still incorporate video games and cartoon characters.
Awesome. It sounds like the activity just keeps growing for you.
Yeah, it super does.
Well, thank you for telling us about this. I do have some questions now. Could you talk a little about the creation aspect of cosplaying? Are there any cosplays that you've made that you're particularly proud of? Maybe they were a particular challenge to make?
Yeah, so I learned how to sew basically in my first ever theater class in college, use a sewing machine, and that's been like the staple of my cosplays. My Instagram is That's So Ginger, because I try to, as much as I can, create what I'm making or what I'm wearing. So as the most challenging costume that I've ever had to make is Hal's coat from Hal's Moving Castle. Ooh. I did it for a cosplay competition, and it was the first time in my life I've ever had to like create the fabric to create the costume out of.
That is a pretty elaborate coat. And it's making me think now of back to the book of Hal's Moving Castle, because quite a bit of that story involves her working on the coat.
Yeah, it's funny. I love the book and the movie, but I like the movie's charm more than the book's a little brash.
Yeah, it does. They have their individual charms, I think.
For sure.
All right. Do you have any dream cosplays you haven't done yet?
Ooh, that's so hard. One of the cosplays that I've always wanted to do is Star Butterfly's like mega butterfly form from Star versus the Forces of Evil. She's got like 6 arms and huge butterfly wings. Ooh. And her hair's all crazy. So we'll get there eventually.
The wings would be really cool. Is there anything that you don't like about cosplay or cosplay performance? And if so, how do you handle that?
So I think that something that I don't like about cosplay in general is that, and it's, it is kind of more so, I would say, I'm going to talk about handling it first. I just think you should be surrounding yourself with people that support you and uplift each other in the community. I do think that there is sometimes people that have a stigma or feel entitled to a specific character or show that they also love. The most common question, I kid you not, when I cosplay Pearl is people asking me, why don't you have a pointy nose prosthetic? And I'm like, well, honestly, I personally interpreted this as, she just has a pointier nose than the other people in the show, but not necessarily like has to be pointy for you to be accurate. And that's the thing that I super feel passionate about, is that I think people can cosplay however they want to and interpret a character however they want to. Like, add whatever fabric patterns you want, add whatever detail you want, because at the end of the day, if you're cosplaying a 2D character, they don't have time to add in all of that texture in the animation. You can interpret it however you want and it's still valid and good. And so I really think that, that people should really view cosplay as a way to connect with people and like see that other people like love this same thing that you love, rather than using it as a means to criticize, like, well, I would have done that differently. I think more so it should be interpreted as, well, I would have done that differently, but I love the way that you interpreted it differently than me. Like, I think it should be a means of connecting rather than a means of, it has to be exactly my vision,
Yeah, that's lovely. Ginger, thank you so much for telling us about something you love today.
Thank you. I just love that, this is something that is just a way I'm able to really kind of combine all of my main passions into one fun creative outlet.
And it's clear how much you love it, definitely. And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in today. If you would like to learn more about cosplay performance or our guest, Ginger, you can find her social media information in the episode description. And don't forget to use the hashtag #LoveThisThingCast to tell us about the things you love. I Love This Thing So Frigging Much is a production of Through the Window Media. This episode was directed by Sophie A. Katz and edited by Melissa Block. You can find us at Through the Window on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or Tumblr. That is THROU the Window at all those social media sites. Be good to yourself, be kind to each other, and you'll hear from us again soon.